Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ed TIERNEY. I'm the Chief of Staff of the Palm Beach County School District. The purpose of this community update is to share an overview of the district's back-to-school plans for the 2021-2022 school year. While many major decisions have already been made, the school board, the superintendent, and his leadership team are constantly evaluating pandemic conditions, the academic and emotional needs of our students, financial considerations, and other critical factors which must be considered while we finalize our plans. August 10th, the first day of the next school year, is 4 months away, and we're continually moving towards making progress on finalizing plans to open the schools, and we want to keep you informed every step of the way. This afternoon, you'll hear from our superintendent, Dr. FENNOY, from our deputy superintendent, Mr. Keith Oswald, from our chief academic officer, Dr. GLENDA Sheffield, from our chief operations officer, Ms. Wanda Paul, our chief financial officer, Mr. Mike Burke, our chief of human resources, Dr. Gonzalo LaCava, and our chief of police, Chief KITZEROW. I'll thank you in advance for holding questions to the end, and at this point, I'm pleased to introduce our superintendent, Dr. FENNOY.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. To our parents, students, staff, and school board members joining us today, I want to begin by expressing my heartfelt gratitude for the cooperation, dedication, and commitment to academic excellence that you have exhibited since the pandemic began more than 1 year ago. This has been a challenging journey for all of us, for some more so than others. But it has also been a time in which we collectively as a community have turned many challenges into opportunities that will benefit our students for years to come. An example of that is the digital inclusion work that resulted in the district achieving a 1-to-1 ratio of students and internet-connected services. The Wi-Fi mesh network that is making great progress across 50 square miles of this district will provide free, high-speed internet access to more than 25,000 students in its first phase. And the placement of an interactive panel like this in every single classroom in our district. These efforts are moving the needle when it comes to closing the digital divide for our children. But while we have made technological advances and we have accommodated parents who wanted a choice, in-person or distance learning instruction, and we continue to serve as a positive example on the national stage, there is much room for improvement. While many students in distance learning have flourished, others have fallen behind academically and socially. Let me be clear. The district is committed to equity and access to a high-quality education for every student. We are committed to the social and emotional health of every student. Achieving that is best accomplished when children are on our campuses and learning through in-person instruction. We must put all of our efforts into increasing the opportunity to learn. My intention, as I shared with parents and staff last week, is a full return to brick and mortar when schools open on August the 10th. I speak for the school board and the entire district when I say that I am optimistic about the future of our schools and our students. Based on the improving landscape of the pandemic and the rapidly increasing number of district employees who have been vaccinated through opportunities created by the district and health officials, the state's strict stance on K-12 campuses must remain open, and irrefutable data supporting the tremendously enhanced student engagement of in-person instruction. A full return to brick and mortar this fall is anticipated, and I believe it is in the best interest of our students and our staff. You may be wondering what that will look like. Our safety protocols, such as enhanced sanitizing, higher rated HVAC systems, social distancing, and other measures designed to keep our campuses healthy will continue. Our behavioral and health specialists and our school-based administrators will ensure that our schools are more supportive than ever before, especially before the pandemic. We plan on continuing our sports programs, social events, in an effort to make our campuses as welcoming and as engaging for our students as possible. A full return to campus-based learning will, for the most part, put an end to simultaneous instruction, which we all know has been a very heavy lift for our teachers. I say for the most part because there may be individual situations in which a teacher or a school may elect to stream or record the daily lesson to accommodate a student who was unable to attend classes in person due to personal issues. Again, I cannot overstate the academic, social, and emotional benefits of returning to in-person instruction. Students thrive while learning among friends and caring adults in their school setting. However, While in-person instruction is the best fit for most families, students also have a remote instructional option through Palm Beach Virtual School as they had in years past. Mr. Oswald will provide more information on that in a moment. Before we get to next year, it's important to note that extensive learning opportunities will be available this summer for students with unfinished learning. There is much critical and intentional work and many targeted decisions to be made before August 10th. However, you have my word that the flow of communication will be timely, transparent, and ongoing. Last school year, in the days leading up to and beyond the first day, I had a multi-language phone bank set up to answer questions for students, parents, and staff. The school board and I are committed to that level of customer service again this year. In closing, I would like to say how proud, and I mean that, how proud I am to have the honor of serving as a superintendent of this exceptional district. Because of you, education never paused. Because of you, education was never interrupted in Palm Beach County. Our school district continues to serve as an example on the national stage for our intentional and innovative achievements born out of our unwavering commitment to the success of our students. The back-to-school theme for this year was going the distance together. Whether you are a student, parent, member of Team Palm Beach, a business partner, a member of this great community, or just a friend, thank you for being a partner committed to educational excellence for our children. And now, I'd like to invite our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Oswald, to the podium to give you his back-to-school update. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. FENNOY, and good afternoon. We are pretty excited about getting all of our students back to brick and mortar. I'd like to talk more about the social emotional needs of our students. I think all of us can kind of recall back when we were in school, it took one caring adult to make a difference in our lives. These structures of caring adults and the school routines on a school campus are critical coping mechanisms for our students to be successful. We know when we bring them back on our school campus, they'll have access to all the resources that our community has invested in. Due to a local referendum here by our voters, our schools and our students have access to behavioral health professionals, school counselors, agencies that provide deep support on the mental behavioral health needs of our students. Those are critical aspects and areas that we know that our students are struggling with when they're not in school. In addition, the academic needs of our students are in a critical condition. One of the issues that we've seen in this first marking period is a 13% increase in the number of students who are failing one of their core courses. And this is because of this distance learning issue. So when they get back on our campuses, we're better able to address those particular needs. In addition, student attendance. In elementary schools, we've seen the number of students who are absent more than 11 days up almost 3%. And those students with 21 or more days out of school are up 4 points. So this decision to move back to getting all students brick and mortar are critical for the success of our students. For the options where that does not work for a parent, as Dr. FENNOY mentioned, Palm Beach Virtual School is an option for our students. Currently, Palm Beach School Virtual Schools is now accepting applications. So I want to make this clear. So if a parent is interested in the virtual option, they should go to palmbeachvirtual.org to apply for the Palm Beach Virtual option for their education. They should click on full-time enrollment, click Apply Now, and complete the application. Once they do that, a representative from the Palm Beach Virtual School team will reach out to the parent and the student to talk about what the virtual option looks like for their particular child, depending on the grade level. Now, it's a little bit different than what students have experienced in this distance learning. Here, a student will complete a preset curriculum on their own pace. So there's a lot more autonomy for the student. They work and establish their own hours. There's not that direct instruction that they would receive on a day-to-day basis like they are now in this distance learning environment. So again, please go to palmbeachvirtual.org to apply for that option if that's what a parent would like to see. Now I'd like to shift and talk about a couple communications that have come from the Department of Education. One regarding the letter from Commissioner Corcoran regarding face masks. And as Dr. FENNOY mentioned, currently the School District of Palm Beach County has a policy in place, the requirement of face masks. That is still the plan right now. We will monitor the situation closely as we move forward, but right now our board has established a policy that requires face masks. We will work with local health officials to monitor that as we go into the summer and into next school year. In addition, last week the Department of Education issued an executive order that addressed a lot of state assessments. And I want to talk about this because this is really, really important because there is some potentially some confusion that might be out there. First, let's talk what's most important is our seniors, right? And they're about to graduate. So there are a number of statutes relevant to a standard high school diploma that a student must meet for a standard high school diploma. And all of the requirements when it comes to credits and GPA are still in place. Those are not waived. The only pieces that may be waived on a case-by-case situation are those that are tied back to a state assessment. So here we're talking about algebra and English language arts. So currently, if a student has not met that requirement, the school district must establish that the student has met that requirement or equivalency on a case-by-case situation. So it's not a complete waiver. So we're working with our schools and our principals and our teachers around exactly what that could be in place to make that decision. This only applies to those seniors that were to graduate in the spring of 2021. In addition, end-of-course exams are also mentioned about that they may not necessarily be used for the grade of a student. However, there are some high-stakes important value to a number of these state assessments. And again, this is critical. So for example, if a student is in Algebra 1, there's an end-of-course exam, a state exam, then this particular results of that exam are tied directly to the high school diploma. So if you're a middle school student and you're taking Algebra 1, your results on that test is critical for a high school diploma. If a parent or someone does not choose to take that test, they will have to eventually still meet that requirement for a standard high school diploma. So it's critical. Another example, in grade 10, the English language arts exam in that particular course is directly tied to the high school diploma. That is not waived, that requirement for that component. So it's critical that our parents hear that these assessments are still very important to a student's results, so again, in their academic results. Also critically important is promotion to 4th grade. So we always talk about that 3rd grade FSA assessment. And again, here, the waiver of the 3rd grade test does not necessarily mean a student will automatically go to 4th grade. A school and a district still has to establish that a student met the requirements equivalent to that of a level 2 on a Florida standards assessment. So, and that could be through the portfolio process or another way. But again, it doesn't just mean that if you don't take that test that you're automatically going to 4th grade. We still have to demonstrate that a student has met those particular standards at that grade level. So again, we're close to finishing out this school year. Let's finish strong, and to our parents and community, please, our schools have been working very carefully and closely with you to establish areas that are very safe to attest. Let's just finish that off with completing these exams. As it relates to Bright Futures, there's a number of issues with Bright Futures. I know we have a lot of our community and our students who are going to get that Bright Futures scholarship. When it comes to the volunteer hours that are required, again, in a case-by-case situation, if there is an issue where a student was not able to complete those volunteer hours due to the pandemic, that can be waived, and we should work with their school counselors, and we will be working with our schools to make sure that all of our school counselors have that information as they work with our students. In addition, there are ACT, SAT requirements to these Bright Futures. This is not waived, and it's critical to understand that is not waived. Just the deadline for completion is extended through December 1st. So the critical components as we move forward. Lastly, another area that the executive order talks about are struggling readers. So at this time, Dr. Glenda Sheffield is going to come up, our Chief Academic Officer, who's going to talk to a lot of the support that we are going to be doing to support our struggling learners. Dr. Sheffield.
Good afternoon. In the efforts of mitigating the instructional loss that many of our students encountered during COVID-19, the school district prioritized funding during the spring semester, January up until now, that's continuing to the end of this academic year, to start addressing these learning loss. Phase 1 of the Student Academic Support Plan was used to fund before school, after school tutorials, weekend tutorials, and our holiday or spring break academic programs. Additionally, Phase 1 funds will be used to implement our expanded summer school programs from June 28th to July 22nd. It is important to note that all programs will be face-to-face, and students will be identified for participation utilizing an identified data matrix. Individual schools will be contacting families and students for selected programs as they are identified accordingly. The goals of the expanded summer school acceleration programs are to accelerate student learning to close pre-existing achievement gaps, provide an extension of the regular school year, but with a different look and experience that will engage our students with unique learning opportunities in arts, music, physical education, STEM activities, and project-based learning. And most importantly, students will leave the summer acceleration program prepared for success in the upcoming school year. The expanded academic opportunities for this coming summer is to include a VPK programs. We have a K-2 Summer Academy for our rising first, second, and third graders. This program is to improve student achievement in literacy and math. We have an expanded Reading Academy, known to many as our SRA Academy, for our grade 3 students. We will also be having a Transition to Middle School Academy. This program will be for select rising 6th grade students. These are our current 5th grade students that will be entering middle school for the upcoming year. We will also be hosting our middle school course recovery. This program is for targeted 8th grade students that may be lacking quality academic points for grade level promotion. This particular program, of course, is taking place on our middle school campuses. And we also will have our Jump Start to High School program. This program is a program that we've been running in the district for many years. It's something that is not new. And it will focus on select 7th grade students that meet specific criteria. We will also be having a high school graduation support program. This particular program is going to be for our students, I should say our seniors with priorities, and then our juniors. This program will be giving our seniors, those that are in this graduating class, the class of 2021 cohort, an opportunity to come in over the summer if they have credit deficiency or missing other criteria that are needed for this year's graduation. And then once we have worked and solidified with this year's cohort, we will be inviting select juniors to participate as well. The district ESY and ESOL programs for select students will be at various elementary and secondary sites. And our students with disabilities and our ELL students, these students will participate within the inclusion model that's going to be on many of our middle and high school campuses. And lastly, driver's education will be held this summer on various high school campuses. As I went through a few of the programs that we will be offering this summer for our students, I want to just share with you some of the specifics around these programs. Again, I must stress that these programs will be face-to-face. The instructional time is going to be Monday through Thursday, unless noted otherwise. The times, our elementary programs are going to take place from 8:30 to 2:30. Our middle school programs are 7:30 to 12:30. Our Jump Start program that I talked about will be from 8 to 2:30. Our high school program that we have on our high school campuses will be from 7:30 to 12:30, and our ESY and our ELO programs will be from 7:30 to 12:30. It is also important that I make a notation that our students that are participating, we will be providing breakfast and lunch free to all participating students on our summer school sites and summer camp locations. All summer school sites will be open on Thursdays for grab-and-go meal distribution, 7 days worth of breakfast and lunch for those students not attending our district summer programs or summer camps. Bus transportation will be provided to all students that will be participating in our various summer academies. Similar during the school year, parents will have an opportunity to just log onto the district's portal to receive their son or daughter transportation route once everything has been solidified. In closing, the district recognizes that the students are experiencing varying instructional gaps. We also recognize that a systematic approach to assisting our students with the instructional gaps that they may be experiencing is necessary, and the gaps will not be closed during this summer alone with all the programs that we're putting into place. But we are truly committed to working alongside with our students, their families, and our teachers, and our school-based administrators. Because of such, it is extremely important to know that the district team is continuing to work on Phase 2 of the Student Academic Support Plan. Phase 2 will be inclusive to the support that will be provided during the academic school year. In essence, our goal again is to create an academic support plan, which is a continuing process that is going to address the ongoing academic, social, and emotional needs for all of our students in the coming years. Again, I must stress to everyone in here this afternoon that the learning loss that our students have encountered these past 14 months, the work that we're doing this summer alone is not going to mitigate these instructional losses, and we're going to say everything is fine. We realize as a system, it's our job, it's our responsibility to put some processes and put some pieces into place that's going to help for years to come in trying to mitigate these instructional losses in which our students have faced. To the district's phenomenal school principals, the awesome teachers, and our other district staffs, I personally, again, would just like to say thank you for your fearless leadership. These past 14 months has reshaped our educational platform. Together, we've created systems and utilized skills that we didn't even know existed. Many of the skills we will continue to utilize in our space because it has allowed for efficiency and effectiveness. To our parents and communities at large, your ongoing support and feedback continues to be supported and appreciated. At this time, Wanda Paul, our District Chief Operating Officer, will provide us with an update on district facilities.
Good afternoon, everyone. I represent the Operations Division, and we'll continue to do what we've been doing the last 14 months, work. Part of the work is maintaining health and safety protocols on our campuses, buses, and ancillary facilities. We have installed MERV 13 filters where we could, and we are changing our filters more frequently. In addition, we're sanitizing our restrooms and our common areas in the schools, and we're making sure that the schools are stocked with essential supplies such as soaps, hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and other necessary items. We also purchased electrostatic sprayers that we initially started using on our buses. We're using them also in the schools, so every school has an electrostatic sprayer. As Dr. Sheffield said previously, we are providing meals to our schools. I want to thank our courageous food service folks, our bus drivers, our mechanics, and everyone for keeping our system going. Meals will be free through the end of the summer. We're waiting for additional guidance from the United States Department of Agriculture and our State Department to determine what meals will look like. In the future, as I said before, we've previously been providing meals to every student free of charge. Again, transportation for the school year, the next school year, you still have to register for transportation to ensure that you have a place on the bus. The protocols such as wearing masks, maintaining social distance, those things are still in place. So again, I want to thank my team for a tremendous job over these last 14 months, and we look forward to the next school year. I'll be followed by our Chief Financial Officer, Mike Burke.
All right. Well, you know we're excited about next school year when we hold the press conference in April. And this year, we lost some students that may have, and families that delayed their entry into education or that they took advantage of other opportunities during the pandemic. But we want to be sure to roll out the red carpet this year and welcome everyone back to our schools, students from the past and families new to our area. It has been a challenge and it has been costly to operate schools during the pandemic. It was mentioned earlier, we expedited our plans to get to a 1-to-1 student device ratio with our computers so that everyone had a computer available. That required a $25 million purchase of about 80,000 computers to get us up to nearly 170,000 computers district-wide. We also covered the cost of internet services for those students in need, and that ran about $1.5 million. And we're learning that with the more devices out there and about throughout the county, there has been some breakage and damage. And we'll probably spend about $1 million this year just fixing devices. We've spent about $800,000 so far. So I would ask everyone to help us out and do everything we can to protect those devices and safeguard them to the extent possible. As Ms. Paul said, the enhanced cleanings, the additional supplies, the PPE, all those things are going to remain in place. So we've spent about $26 million this year on those items. And going into next year, it'll still be a significant expense, but we'll have the benefit of some of those equipment that was purchased was kind of one time. The plexiglass, the electrostatic sprayers, we don't have to repurchase those items. So I expect that to drop off, but still probably run about $15 million a year. And then some of our programs that are dependent on serving the students in person, like our food service program, our after-school programs, or some of our VPK and preschool programs. With a large portion of our kids, being online this year, we lost millions in revenue. So we're recovering from that. The good news in all of this is that, fortunately, the federal government has approved a substantial amount of funding to help schools nationwide recover from this pandemic, to reopen safely, and to begin addressing the unfinished learning, both academic and social emotional, that you heard from Mr. Oswald and Dr. Sheffield. So Palm Beach County schools stand to generate about $500 million in federal funds over the next 3 years. That's about $166 million a year, and that represents about 7.5% of our normal operating budget. So it is a significant boost, and job one will be addressing the unfinished learning and making use of those dollars. These are temporary dollars. After 3 years, the money will go away. So we have to be very careful that we use it with that in mind, that we make kind of non-recurring investments, and if we add staff to help with this work, that those positions will be end dated. They'll be temporary jobs for 2 or 3 years. So we will be having a series of workshops with our school board. I'm working with the superintendent and his team to develop a spending plan for these dollars over the next 3 years. It'll be part of our budget development process. And it's exciting to actually have some funds available to do the work that needs to be done. That's, the federal funds, that's the really positive news. On our regular operating budget, the federal dollars are supplemental, and they have to go really to these intended purposes that I mentioned earlier. The regular operating budget is under strain because of the loss of enrollment. We're down about 6,000 students, and we're hoping that we can recruit and get a lot of those kids back in our schools next year, but we have to kind of wait and see how that goes. We know we're going to have some rising costs with diesel fuel, electricity, pension contributions. So you're still going to hear me talk about some challenges with the budget, and you're just going to have to think there's different components. There's the special federal revenue, and then there's the regular operating budget that supports our day-to-day cost. I think that's probably enough on the finance side. The school district is a service organization, and it's our people that make us great. I had the privilege now to introduce our number one man of the people, the man you've been waiting for, Dr. Gonzalo LaCava, Chief of Human Resources.
Good afternoon. I just first want to thank all the teachers and the leaders for everything that you do for our children in the last 14 months. Has been very challenging. I also want to thank the parents during these last 14 months because it's been tough. And I want to thank you for standing alongside the district during our decision making. So thank you very much. I just wanted to share a couple of things in regards to human resources, in regards to the recruitment and teachers and what we're going to be needing in the future. And right now, it's looking that we're anticipating similar vacancies as last year. We're at about 150 vacancies when we start the school year. And most of those vacancies are going to be traditionally hard-to-staff positions that we always have. Exceptional education, anything in the special education world is very difficult to recruit right now. Science and math teachers, and also reading has become more challenging to recruit lately, but we are still recruiting. We haven't stopped recruiting, but we changed a little bit in regards to how we recruit now, and we're doing that a little bit more virtually. We have a lot of coffee chats, and anytime we meet with the universities, it's a lot of our virtual recruitment fairs. Just to share with you a little bit about retirements or resignations, I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we had about 376 teachers retire this past 14 months. So that's about 2 to 3% of our teacher staff, and we had about 697 resignations over that 14 months. It's a little bit higher than it was last year, not dramatic, but some of those are due to the COVID pandemic, of course. For our employees or our staff that have questions regarding recruitment, retention, certification, anything that they might have in mind, we always ask them to email AskHR, and let me just give you that email, askhr@palmbeachschools.org, or they can call our local number of 561-434-8777. In regards to recruitment in the operations world, we are currently constantly needing bus drivers. We are looking for at least 100 bus drivers right now. We are going to be doing bus fairs and bus recruitment. So you're interested as well, ask HR, call us. We'll redirect you on we'll direct you to where you need to apply. And then, of course, we've been having challenges filling our sub rates. We're about 70% fill rate. We do have about 3,000 substitutes, but about 1,200 have been active over the last 90 days. And so we're constantly recruiting on that. Other than that, that is my brief human resources update. And I'm going to turn it over to Chief KITZEROW, the best chief in all of Florida and the nation.
Thank you, Dr. LaCava. Good afternoon. Before I talk about what the school police will be involved in the coming year, I want to give a big thank you to the men and women of the Palm Beach County School District Police Department, both sworn and civilian, for all the things they've been tackling this past year, many of whom you see over there. Please take the opportunity to thank these folks. The work that they've been doing is second to none. As we approach the next school year, we will continue to partner with our students, staff, administrators, and teachers to share the responsibility for school safety. As you have heard me say more than once, this is a community event, and we all own school safety. We are all school safety. In addition, we'll make sure and review all of our crisis intervention and critical incident response plans are up to date, and leverage our technology to do everything from increasing our abilities to communicate with our officers out in the field, both in the schools and on the campus, push information and technology to them every day, and all the critical things that they need to do their jobs, working from the premise that knowledge is power, and the more information they have and the greater the situational awareness, the greater the opportunities to provide for the safety of our students and staff on every single campus. As you know, we recently enacted the ASHER policy, which is the Active Shooter Hostile Event Response Plan. We'll be continue to training on that in this summer. We have a heavy lift this summer for training topics and things that we will be doing while we're helping to support all the summer learning sites, and so it will be quite a significant undertaking for us. We will also be enhancing our tools for monitoring and tracking school safety every day, including software relating to visitor management. I'm not anticipating that our visitor policy is going to loosen up at all in the coming year, but that remains to be seen. Our Command Central Aware panic alarm system, reunification systems, and for the coming year, we will have probably one of the most robust emergency reunification processes of any school district that I'm aware of. As we move into the next year, as we all know, as I said many times, takes all of us working together, and we will continue to work to the left of the X being the day a catastrophic event occurs, leveraging our unique school safety ecosystem, which includes prevention strategies, intervention, diversion, safety, security, unified command, reunification, technology, training. Each of those topics has a significant number of bullets underneath them, and that we pay attention to every day. People in our school district, our parents, trust us with their loved ones every day. We do not take that lightly. Two parts to being safe, okay? Being safe and feeling safe. I want to tell you, you are safe. Now our goal for this year is to ensure that we keep working on helping you feel safe. And so remember, again, I'll leave you with, we are all school safety, and it takes all of us to keep our children safe every day. Thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to our Chief of Staff, Mr. Tierney.
As I said at the beginning of the brief, that planning for opening of schools for next year is a process, so the questions that we've not yet answered will be answered shortly, and we'll communicate that immediately with students, staff, parents, and the community. At this point, we have a couple minutes for questions.
Okay, I have two questions actually. Is Superintendent FENNOY here? Okay, so I'll ask I guess you or whoever wants to field these questions. First question is regarding COVID vaccines. Any discussion about requiring those for staff or students if they become options for younger people in the area?
We've had no conversations about that.
Okay. Next question is regarding school safety. There was an issue that came up recently with a teacher arrested for sex crimes with children. We wanted to know about the district's notification policy, because only one school was notified about that teacher's arrest. 2 other schools where he previously worked were not notified. Any consideration about notifying all schools in a case like this?
So each incident is handled uniquely because of the complexity and sensitivity of that. And that incident that you're referring to, I believe we met with the community and the parents by that same evening. But we are very, very cognizant of not doing anything that might impede the investigation. That investigation is being conducted by an outside organization, so we were really careful to not do anything that may impede that.
With return to in-classroom learning for the next school year, would there be any limitations as far as how many students per classroom throughout all the schools?
We're going to social distance the best that we can, and we had moved furniture out earlier that created more space in the classrooms, but students who choose to return will return.
I know you said you have a shortage of bus drivers. You had a number of students who retired, who left the district. How are you going to fill those gaps in time when the students get back to school, not only just for the fall, but for the summer, if you're going to address their issues then too?
Dr. LaCava?
Great question. We're actively recruiting all the time, but we also have a lot of teachers that are on leave, and once they're able to come back, they will fill in those gaps as well. So a lot of those vacancies have been created because we have teachers are either on leave or in a priority status or an ADA accommodation. But as they start coming back, those will fill in those gaps as well. So during the summer is a different process. I know that Ms. Sheffield has put together a great plan over the summertime. They will be interviewing for those teachers in the summertime, so we should be able to fill those to capacity as well.
This is for, well, Wanda or Keith might be able to answer this. You have a few schools that are super crowded, like Jupiter High, Forest Hill High, Boca High. What you can distance in a classroom, how do you distance in those stairwells?
So I think what's important to know is that one thing we've learned this year is that change is constant, right? So would we all thought that the vaccine would be rolling out as quickly as we did and where we're at today? Probably not. I can say that I'm fully vaccinated at this point. I'm pretty happy about that. Never thought it would have been prior to this school year being out. So we're going to monitor the situation closely. I can tell you I'm becoming an expert in square footage and how many desks you can fit into a classroom. And we have been working very closely with our schools and the guidance that's out there between the American Academy of Pediatrics, CDC, et cetera, around how many, the social distancing. So a lot of that guidance supports down to 3 feet if face masks are supported. Again, what it looks like now is not necessarily what it's going to look like in a month, let alone come August. So we're going to monitor that situation closely, look at every single classroom and how many desks we can fit in there and allow for social distancing. So at 3 feet apart, we can fit a lot more than at 6 feet apart. So again, working very closely and in combination with other mitigation strategies that Ms. Paul has put in place in our schools, we know that we have mitigated a lot of spread of COVID.
And also, so how does that play out on a bus? You've had students who are standing in buses, they're so crowded.
Ms. Paul wants to take that.
So basically, from the beginning, we said we would not social distance on a bus. So one of the critical things that we asked our students to do is when they're at the bus stop, social distance, keep their mask on, and make sure that they wash their hands when they get off and so forth. In addition, we use the electrostatic sprayers to make sure that there is no spread. So one other thing, we keep seating charts, so if someone does become sick or whatever, we're able to trace and try to contain it. So the bus drivers and the team have worked very aggressively to make sure that we keep those protocols in place.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this event. Thank you very much for attending. We appreciate it.